Spark TV.
Thank you for having me, Danielle.
I am so excited. Before we hit record, we were just reminiscing over all of the same people that we know and how we've been potentially seeing each other at events, but this is the first time that we're actually speaking. So I'm so excited to have you on the show and share your story.
Yeah, well, I think I love the part of networking in any state. I think in Australia, all the business women get together and it's interesting how everyone knows everybody else through everybody helps each other out. And that's, what I absolutely love about working with any woman in business, pretty much.
It is so good, isn't it? I must admit, so Spark is my second business, but I'm always blown away at how generous other business owners are. We're sales courses and coaching, but like, I swear to God that I get more out of it than the people we coach. I'm always like, oh my God, that was my therapy today. I've got so many tips. I've got all these to-dos. Like, women in business are so amazing.
Yeah, 100%. And I really, like, I started out 10, 12 years ago in the baby industry selling baby swimwear. And the women that I met when we were all starting out small, and now they're huge companies all over the world in Woolworths and all over everywhere. But we all started off really small and we all helped each other out right at the get-go. And then through the whole journey of the process of that business, and even now in my new businesses, I'm still getting help and still helping all of those women, because it's just like this huge network, and it is, I love that aspect of it, and I honestly think that's half the reason why any business I've worked in has been successful, because of the kindness and the generosity of everybody, and that giving and getting thing that we have going on. And I don't know if it's an Aussie thing or if it's everywhere, I don't know, but I love it and it helps me so much.
I love it. I totally agree. So now you said something very interesting then. You said you were in the baby swimwear industry. So hold the phone.
Yes.
Let's tell everyone firstly what it is you do now. And then let's give a little bit of a backstory. So the career with other businesses. Yes, there was obviously another business. So tell me your story.
Well, I have been working in, I guess you could say it's always been technically sales and marketing in a way. But currently what I do is two things. I've got two businesses. One is coaching women in business, usually helping women with kids that just don't know how to juggle the whole thing and wear all the hats, and how to work in being a mum at home and also try and building a business from scratch. And on the other side, I also have my other business, which is the divorce course. And we have a podcast and an online course where we coach women predominantly, again, to get through the divorce process, hopefully staying out of court, and educating and empowering them. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I do both of those things. Sadly, probably need to stop one of them and focus more on the other one, because it's getting insanely big.
That. I'm the same. I'm like, I have all of these bloody ideas and not enough time.
Yes, that's right. And I think it's like it's like they're fighting for my attention. But my whole life in business, I've always been in the Bossy Mummy. It's called Bossy Mummy. And I've always coached people. Before I didn't charge, now I do, because I really see the value in seeing other people have great ideas. They just sometimes need a little bit of support in getting that idea off the ground, and then they fly off, and now they're huge businesses too. So I love that. I've always loved that. But I do need to focus more on my divorce course podcast now, because it's taken off. So
oh gosh. Amazing. So how did you get here? So, I mean, obviously you said you had the children's swimwear business, but what is that backstory? Was there a career? Was that the business? Like, talk to me about how you actually got to these two things.
Okay, so well, I started out as a teacher, and then
cool.
and that was lovely. But then needed to work from home, and I've got some chronic illnesses that make it hard for me to work full time. So I tried to think outside the box, and then, you know, started doing creating swimwear because my daughter was little and her outfits were annoying me. So I just like, I'll do this. And then people wanted to buy it. And then it just snowballed into a website, and then, which back in the day was a huge thing to have, you know, 15 years ago. And then baby expos, shows, and then that snowballed into international sales, where we were in stores all over the world, and distributed everywhere, and in Australia, and DJs and Chemist Warehouse, all of that. And then it all kind of came to a bit of a halt. But I, at the same time, was still coaching and helping people with the 3PL as well, a warehouse 3PL. And then, yes, it all came to a bit of a halt, and then I just needed to take a step back and focus a bit more on me. And I was, of course, going through a tricky separation. And I have a mother who is a lawyer, and I would ring her all the time and go, what does this mean? Because I obviously had lawyers too. And mum would explain it to me, and I'd go, oh, okay. And then something else would happen. I'd be like, what does this mean? And eventually I realized, oh my gosh, what do people do when they're going through the divorce if they don't have mum?
Yeah, if they don't have a lawyer mum, like most of us. Yes.
And then people caught wind of the fact that maybe I was going through a divorce, and so they were asking me for tips, and I'd say, oh, ring my mum. And then I realized I was saying the same thing over and over again. And mum was too. And I said, mum, why don't we just put it on a podcast? And you can say, go and listen to episode 2. And then you don't have to say the same thing to a million people. So we started a podcast just kind of like as a way of giving back to all the help that I'd received through that tricky time. And mum wanted to have her voice out there, a legacy, because she's about to retire. And then, it just went mental. I think people really grabbed a hold of it and loved it so much. And so, we just snowballed from there to creating a course so people can follow along and do it themselves and educate themselves and know what the process is. And that's where we're at today.
That is amazing. So I just personally, so 2020, because, you know, obviously in 2020, the whole world, all of the things shifted, didn't it? But
everything imploded.
Totally. And went through not only partner separation, but business. So we were co-founders in business as well as partners. And holy crap, it's like, and we were together for 10 years, not married, but after 10 years, everything's bloody linked. It is. And it was so messy and so like, and you don't even know who you are as a human anymore after a decade of being with somebody. Like,
it is
so tricky.
I think it's the business as well. If you probably found this, your business and your partner becomes part of your identity. And then when that's slowly unpicked and unraveled, you're like, oh, who am I? What am I doing?
I'm still asking myself that question. I'm still going like, who am I outside of these businesses? And, you know, I'm very lucky. I'm repartnered, as they say. And that's fabulous. And it's all like for the best. But it's, you know, you don't just wake up in the morning and go, everything's fine now.
Yes. No, you don't. And I really do think if anyone's listening who's got a business, and that, you know, and I know if you're listening to this, you're probably a very driven woman, but just be aware that it isn't all you, and it's always trying to have an anchor that's outside of your business, so that if everything does go to crap because of, I don't know, some supply issue, or your business goes broke, or you end up separated, you know, that you've got something else to hang on to in a storm. Because I think, I'm sure you figured that out, and I figured that out pretty quickly too. Yeah.
It is, no, but you're so right. Like, it is such great advice. You know, and I think, I mean, it's tricky, right? Like, you go into relationships, whether it be a personal relationship or a business relationship, with these rose colored glasses on, right? Like, you're in this like loved up state. And I think even when you start a business, you're in a loved up state. I think that's why I start so many businesses, because it's like that. It's like dating for the first time. And you're like, oh my God, this is so fun. Screw the actual getting customers and scaling part. I just want to start all the time. But you do, like, you go in going, everything's going to be amazing, like, it's all good. I don't want to listen to anyone that says don't go into business with a family member or a partner or whatever. You think we'll be the anomaly, we'll be the ones that make it. And look, I do know of couples who are super successful business people as well.
Totally.
But I think a little sprinkling of reality and safety net, not such a bad thing.
Yes. And entrepreneurs are naturally they're positive people. They've got a positive mind. You'd have to be thinking super positive to think you can start a business from scratch and project it out to the world. You have to be positive. You can't start at the beginning and go, well, this might not work, or we might break. So I understand there's a lot of like, it's just like a little, hey, maybe I should just have an exit clause, or maybe we should have a plan if something goes wrong or one of us gets sick, or, I guess, but it is a bit of a downer. But like you said, I really love starting businesses. That's my favorite part. So I can see why, mind you, didn't like the dating side so much. The redating was not as fun.
Oh, I know. I was very lucky. I literally met my new partner very, very quickly, randomly. So
that's
good. Got to avoid I went on like 2 crap dates on a dating app and went, never doing that. That's ridiculous. How do these kids do it?
I don't know. Those dating apps, they're terrifying. And I just went, whoa, okay, things have changed. The world is different.
Oh my God. I don't think I could deal with it. I was very lucky. I was a regular at a little wine bar and got sat next to a regular who was also that our paths had never crossed in all the time. And then after you became single, just happened to be seated next to them, and fireworks. Crazy.
Oh, that's lovely.
I think it's a great story. But I'm so glad that I missed the dating app situation. I just from having a quick foray into it, I'm like, oh my God, I now understand why people are so messed up about dating now. It's ridiculous. Anyway, we could have a whole podcast on that. Let's park that one.
That's a new business idea, a better dating app.
I know, like an in real life. Let's go back to those events they used to have, when they get all the singles in the room. I'm like, oh it's in real life for the win.
I agree.
Oh my God.
All for it.
Okay, anyway, let's not start a new business on this podcast. So talk to me. Okay, I'm super interested in, so obviously you are a little bit like me, love starting new businesses, have all the ideas. And you mentioned at the start that the divorce podcast might be pulling your attention a little bit more. You might have to need to focus on that a bit more. What is it like running 2 businesses? How do you actually juggle the 2? I'm just interested in that, because I know we do have a lot of multi-passionate entrepreneurs dialing in.
Yes.
Have you, and which I love, I adore that,
yes,
right?
totally.
I know there's, an Instagram guru saying focus and niche, but I'm like, nah, I don't believe it.
Life's too short.
Don't sleep. That's the solution. No, but I'm super keen. Have you found a method in the madness of managing 2 businesses side by side?
Well, funnily enough, I kind of had figured out how to manage my stay-at-home parenting with little kids and my other business. And I've kind of used that model now for my 2 businesses. Obviously, the one that's bringing in most of the money is the Divorce Course podcast. So I focus on that most of my time. And then the business coaching, which is my passion always, Bossy Mummy, I kind of now treat it like the stay-at-home mum stuff I used to do, and I'm super scheduled, I'm super organized and scheduled. So I have specific things that have to be done for each business, and I have specific days I do it. And it's like routine for me, clockwork. So I don't get up in the morning and go, what am I going to do today? I get up and I go, oh, it's Wednesday. I have to do this, this, and this. And then if I have any spare time, because I'm getting faster at doing things, that's when I can squeeze some more Bossy Mummy in. I leave one day fully for business coaching for once a week. And then I squeeze Bossy in when I can around it. And I guess that's like anyone who's starting a business and they've got a job. I know I do coach a lot of women that are working full time and they're trying to get their side hustle as a full-time hustle. And it's all about, finding that time. When can I do it? And sometimes, unfortunately, it is, I'd really like to watch that new Game of Thrones thing, but I'm going to do this instead.
I'm going to launch a course instead.
Yes. And when it comes to those big projects, like when we had had to do the course because it's huge, and lots of videos and PDFs and all of that, and it took forever. But I decided I was just going to write off 2 weeks and not do anything else but that. And it was intense. And I knew I only had those 2 weeks and there wasn't much sleep involved. But once it was done, it was done. So yeah, if it's a big project, I focus fully on it. And otherwise, I have the same things that I do each week that are getting me to my goals. So yeah, that's how I kind of squeeze it all in. Yes.
I love that, because I'm not going to lie, as I said, I get a lot out of these sessions, just as everyone dialing in. I'm kind of in that funny phase at the moment where I've got all of these things on my to-do list that I want to get done before the end of the year. But unfortunately, that's like putting me in a bit of a sense of overwhelm, like oh my God, I don't even know where to start. And I really love that idea of, okay, these are the non-negotiables that I schedule in. And then kind of everything else is the side hustle. Everything else is the nice to have.
Yes. Yeah. And then you have to kind of say, well, if I do want to have this nice to have thing, what am I going to give up? What am I sacrificing? And then you'll know whether it's worth it if you're willing to sacrifice it. But it really does. It's a numbers game. There's only a certain amount of hours in the day, and what you focus on grows. So you've got to make sure that most of those hours in the day are on what it is that you really, really want, not, because like we have so many ideas. So you just got to, I actually have
like 2 pages full
there we
of
go.
them that I'm going, oh my God, when Danielle, when is that happening?
Yeah, but I literally at the beginning of each month, I have a section in my diary too, and I go, look, I write everything down I want to do, then I go, can I fit this in? And then I just leave that for the following month. And I might not get to it at this year, but we'll get there eventually when I get better at things.
No, I think it's so good, right? Because I love the idea of, okay, well, what am I willing to sacrifice to do that extra thing that might be, it might be a good idea, or it might just be on a whim that I'm deciding that that's a good idea. And am I willing to sacrifice that? Because I think, there is also, as you said, sometimes there's family, sometimes there's health, sometimes there's us as humans outside of our businesses. When do we get time for that if all we're doing is like business?
Yeah, that's right. And that is something I've really tried to work on this year, to really, because I've always been that, I can do anything, I'll push on, it's all good. And then I think everybody's learnt through the last 2 years, okay, maybe pushing yourself completely to the brink is not a good idea. And I was like, okay, well, from now on, I actually have a list every month, and I make sure I've scheduled in at least 2 appointments that are for me, taking care of me. And 2 or 3 seeing friends. So I have to book it in and make a commitment. Okay, I'm going to do that. And I know it sounds trivial, but like going to a cafe and seeing your friends or your business mates or your family for half an hour fully lifts you and gives you that extra boost to go. So I've really pushed myself this year to schedule that in, and I've noticed a huge change, because otherwise I was always like, oh, I can't really fit you in, I'm sorry. But now I'm like, nope, I'm going to do 3 people. I'm going to see 3 of my friends. Otherwise, you don't see them ever. You just like go, oh, I haven't seen you for like 6 months. Where did the time go?
I know. And you're right though. If you don't actually plan for it, it's very easy to say, oh, well, my calendar's full this week, so I literally can't do it. And I love that you're actually intentionally at the start of the month going, no, I have this many friend dates. I have this many self dates, and they actually get in the calendar before everything gets filled up.
Yeah. Otherwise, you end up setting yourself up for failure too, because you will probably end up going to see them because you'll feel guilty that you haven't scheduled them. And then what it is that you're supposed to be doing falls aside. And if, like you, and if any of your listeners work from home for themselves, you can easily just go, I'm going to take today off. And then that's when you get a cropper, because you're like, oh, I'm so far behind, or oh, I feel really bad because I didn't get what I was going to get done. So yeah, it's hard. But I have noticed that it has had a huge effect on my mental health. So, yeah.
And also interested, because obviously you said you have kids. You also mentioned that you have some health conditions potentially that preclude you from doing kind of more full-time in-person work.
Yeah.
So I think that this scheduling in this time and looking after your, whether it be physical health, mental health, actually makes a big impact on business. I don't think we can understate how much looking after ourselves actually translates into our business success.
That's so true. Because if you're sitting at the computer and you're writing an email marketing and you're trying to pump people up and you're feeling like crap, or you're depressed, you can't write it well enough. It's not going to come across, and you and I both do podcasting, and when I'm really down in the dumps, you can hear it, and mum's like, hang on, just press pause, I'm going to tell you like 5 terrible jokes just to pep me up. So it really affects your business and your ability to sell, especially with selling. You've got to be super confident and happy and got that energy that people want to be attracted to. And if you're not feeling it, it's just not going to work. So it does really affect. I've noticed a huge change in even listenership and our webinars, etc. from my mind shifts. So it's something you've got to really think about. It's a good investment in yourself and your business.
Totally. And look, you're not wrong. I totally resonated with it. Like today, right? Like showing up here, we're interacting, we've got to be energetic. And I think about like, the days where I'm struggling and I had scheduled in to like batch create reels or something. And you're going like, I hate everyone. I hate the world. And now I've got to pretend to be perky and give you sales tips. It just doesn't kind of work out.
No, that's a perfect example. Like getting in front of reels or, TikTok. And if you're not feeling it, you can't, unless you're a really good actor. It's really hard to fake, and it comes
That's why
across.
I usually have a glass of wine in mine because
that's a good idea.
Not that I'm condoning that at all. But,
don't know how to explain that to my kids. Mummy's doing TikToks and I'm drinking. Sorry, kids. This is hard enough trying to explain. Well, it's hard enough me explain to them that standing in front of a ring light doing stupid things with my hands is work, but that's part of marketing too, isn't it?
Well, and look, and that's the funny thing, isn't it? Like we have to wear all of the hats, right? So not only are we bringing our energy up for one-on-one interactions with our clients, but it is also that sales and marketing, it is writing the emails, it is like all the things,
all the tech. And I think the tech is the thing that kills me the most, is the behind the websites, the funnels, all that kind of stuff, where you're just like, oh, I don't understand this properly. Or Facebook ads, that always kills me as well. So all of that.
Hate it.
All of that.
And it is interesting, like the energy not only to just show up and be perky on a reel, but also the energy to learn. Because you're right, the tech side of things, the funnels, the ads, this is all like, it actually takes energy to sit down and go, right, I have no idea what this is. I have to learn it. And I kind of have to learn it quickly because I've also got to be the sales and marketing person today. I've also got meetings and coaching at X time. So maintaining that energy to learn as well is huge.
And your brain's got to be open to it. So I've caught myself fast forwarding through like courses to learn how to do Facebook ads, and then realizing, oh crap, I've missed something, I have to go back and watch it again because I've missed something because I can't figure it out. So I think it's having that energy to do it properly the first time and not cutting corners, and it's really painful. But yes.
No, I love it. I love it. So what do you think? So reflecting on your previous businesses and the two you have today, what do you think have been some of the biggest lessons for you? So my intention for this podcast is always to help people shortcut success. So don't make the mistakes that we did, or make them smaller. So I'm interested in what potential lessons you've learned in the multiple businesses that you've had that you can kind of go hand on heart. These are the ones that probably maybe tripped me up the most, but were the most important lessons to learn.
Okay, well, one of them, I think, that really reflecting back, and I wish I had learnt the lesson before I made the mistake, was your version of success doesn't have to be what everyone thinks it has to be. You know, people think success is, you've got like, you know, I thought, okay, everyone thinks my successful business for the swimwear will be when I've got a warehouse, an office, and all this stuff. And so I pushed them, and I'd been working from home, looking after my kids, doing school pickups, all of that for years. But then as we got bigger, I thought, oh, well, that must be what I have to do next, because that's what success is for everyone. And then I ended up stuck in a warehouse and an office that I had to drive to, and staff that I had to look after. And I couldn't do what to me was success, was being able to do a business from home with my kids. And, you know, I realized, you know, don't push yourself because that's what everyone says you have to do. Do what it is that you want to do, and be happy with, you know, find in your heart, what is it that I want to be able to do on a day? What is it that I want my week to look like, and how can I get to that? And if I'd asked myself that question, it wouldn't have been, oh, I'm going to drive through peak hour traffic in the morning and the afternoon, go to a warehouse, not see my children, get somebody else to pick them up, and then run it all and go international traveling and all that sort of stuff. I didn't want to do it. To everybody else, they're like, wow, you're so successful. But in my heart, I was like, this sucks. So,
yes.
And so I think now, with these two new businesses, I've managed to think, okay, what is success to me? And it is working from home, being able to take care of myself if I get sick, having a business that will continue to make money whether I'm working on it every day or not.
Yes.
And that's what these businesses are. You know, yes, I might get staff again, but I'm not going to ever have them come to my office. Like, I'm going to have, you know, virtual staff, so I don't have to look after that side of it. And yeah, it's just your version of success. Make sure you're not creating yourself a hamster wheel that you're going to be stuck on forever, or feel guilty about if you say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, it's too much. So that, I think that was probably the biggest lesson that I've learned. And
I love that so much. So I did exactly the same thing. Like when we started Scrunch a decade ago, it was all like raise big amounts of capital, you know, have these huge teams, have an office. And it's like, I always say this, you know, you never see a headline that's like, you know, mum gets to spend time with her kids and run a successful, profitable business. Like, we don't see headlines like that. We see like, new fancy office, or just hired new fancy person, or raised billions of dollars. So I don't think we even like talk about that enough, that success doesn't, and also like how miserable the people are that run those types of businesses. And you know, that we all talk about burnout, but nobody talks about designing the business that you actually want to support the life that you actually want.
That's right. And I think some of those bigger businesses, and look, I'm sure there's some out there that are loving it, but they have those, you know, those self care rooms and those sleep pods and all this meditation space. That's like a band-aid for the main problem, which is it's not the right place to be at. So, you know, I think, yes, you can have all that stuff, but really, if you look at it, what is it that you want to do? Where do you want to be? How can you get your business to get you to a point so that you can be doing that? Yeah,
I could not agree with you more. And I think, you know, actually giving yourself the space to figure out what that looks like for you. So, and whether that's through, you know, obviously I imagine you do that in your coaching, business owners, but, you know, giving yourself the permission, even if you don't have a coach, if you're sitting, you know, listening to this podcast right now and you're like, oh my God, are you telling me I can design the business that I want? But I think it's about that stopping. Like, yes, you've got 2 pages worth of to-do items today that you're probably not going to finish. Maybe take the afternoon off and figure out what you want that business to look like, to know that if anything on the to-do list is actually contributing to creating that business, or whether you're doing all the wrong stuff.
That's right. I think if you've got your vision of you in the future, sit down and think about it. What do you do in the morning? Where do you go? Who do you talk to? Are you talking to anyone? Are you, you know, and then ask yourself, have a look at what you've got on your to-do list. Is any of this getting me to where that is? And if not, why is it on my to-do list? Like, how can I change it up? And the thing with my structure of every week is every one of those set tasks that I have each week is a little step that gets me closer to my main goal. So because it's now a habit to do it. I don't even have to think about goal setting as such, because I've already set it into concrete that I know over time that will build up. But, you know, if you get to your desk in the morning and you're just writing this big long to-do list because Joe Bloggs sent you an email asking for it, you're like, but do I need to do this? Is this where I want to go? Because otherwise what happens is you let other people pull the direction of your business, and your business ends up going where everybody else thinks it should go. But you're the captain, you're flying the plane, so they can sit in the back and you take it where you want to go because you don't see any pilots taking any directions from other people. So,
and like, it's so, that is such a good analogy, right? Because you're right. What if like the 100 people in the back of the plane were shouting orders at the pilot? We would never get to Hawaii.
No, we would not. And you wouldn't even get anywhere in particular. You'd just be, you know, and I think that's what emails are. That's why I never read my emails until lunchtime. So sorry to anybody that thinks emergency, they can call me, but I don't read my emails till lunchtime, because by then I've had my set task done. So no one's going to take me off my path. Then I read my emails. Then I deal with any issues that have come up throughout the day, because, you know, it's all about just taking that right direction. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. I feel like I'm a bit of a slave to my emails sometimes. And I even catch myself going, what are you doing? You're just like looking at this inbox and you're not even replying to them. So why don't you just like close that tab and do something on the to-do list that is going to push you closer towards your goals? Oh my God, that is so good. I love it. Okay. Sorry, you go.
I was just about to say, if you're a people pleaser like me, that took me a long time to get over, saying, oh, I'm not going to answer that until later, I'm not going to read it. But it is definitely, if you're a people pleaser, work on it, because it is so good for your productivity.
No, I love that. I feel like that's the first thing I'm going to do after this recording is close my tabs.
Good.
Oh, so good. Okay, so I'd love to leave the Spark community just with one final thought. So just reflecting again on your time, and I'm kind of probably going to draw on the divorce podcast here and your inspiration for getting that going. When we are in the thick of challenging times, whether it be a relationship breakdown, business breakdown, or just our own heads, right? And we're going, oh my God, I've created this bloody business and I don't know why I did it. When we're in the thick of those challenging times, do you have any advice for a founder who might be struggling to take the next step?
Well, look, I think when you're in super challenging times, the first thing you need to do is take a step away and just disconnect from everything and sit down and have a think about where you're at and where you need to be. And be kind to yourself, because in challenging times, if you put more pressure on yourself, you carry more load and give yourself more expectations, you're going to get nowhere fast. So literally, take it just one step at a time, one day at a time. If it's so overwhelming that you can't even like think about tomorrow, just think about the next hour. Okay, what can I do in this next hour? What am I capable of? What can I deal with? And as long as, like I've said to some people in the divorce course podcast, if you're going through a super hard time and you can't deal with it, just think of one thing that you could do today so that you can pat yourself on the back and feel good about it, and build yourself back up. But of course, women in particular seem to think we're just meant to keep soldiering on and not let anything bother us, and not tell anyone about, oh, I just got separated, or I just got divorced. No, you're not telling anyone. You're carrying all that on your shoulders. So take a step away. What is it that you can do to help yourself? And then what is just one thing you can do? Don't get dug into the future. Just think about today. And if it's really bad, just think about the next hour.
I love it. That is absolutely incredible. Laura, thank you so much for spending your time and imparting your wisdom on the Spark community. It's been absolutely incredible.
Oh, thanks for having me. I loved it.
Awesome.